Title: The Varden. Chapter 1: The Chosen of Section 16. In the year 1505, in the expansive heart of Central Asia, a vast empire stretched under the iron rule of King Galbatorix. Advised by the dark sorcerer Morzin, the king's tyranny was unchallenged, his reign marked by fear and oppression. In a small village within the empire's shadow lived a boy named Aris. He was known for his sharp mind and a deep fondness for books, often escaping the harsh realities of life through stories of magic and adventure. His favorite series, Magical End, was housed in the obscure Section 16 of the village library, a place he considered a sanctuary. One evening, as the crimson sun dipped below the horizon, Aris and his friends gathered around an old wooden table to play poker. Laughter filled the air until a sudden, violent disruption shattered the peace. Imperial soldiers stormed in, seizing Aris' closest friend, Luke, on grounds of conspiring against the Empire, a fabricated charge at best. The soldiers left as quickly as they had arrived, leaving behind a cloud of dust and a group of bewildered friends. Shaken but determined, Aris decided to distract himself with a visit to the library the following day. He navigated straight to Section 16, seeking solace among the familiar pages of Magical End. As he reached for the latest volume, a folded note fell out. It read simply, "You have been chosen." Mystified, Aris tucked the note into his pocket. As he began to read, a strange energy surged through him. The shelves around him vibrated, books toppling like dominoes, and inexplicably, the text from the pages seemed to merge with his consciousness. Aris felt a sudden rush of knowledge and power. He had been imbued with magic. Frightened, he approached the librarian, Mrs. Elmira, and explained what had happened. With a puzzled look, she informed him, "There is no Section 16. Confusion morphed into fear as Aris realized the gravity of his situation. Aris confided in another friend, Logan, about his newfound powers and the note. Sensing the urgency and understanding the peril Luke faced, they decided to rescue him. Their only clue led them straight into the heart of the Empire where darkness reigned under the watchful eyes of Galbatorix and Morzin. Navigating through shadowed forests and treacherous mountains, Aris learned to harness his magical abilities. Focusing his energy into creating a magical sphere, a weapon he believed could defeat Morzin. As they infiltrated the Imperial Palace, they found Luke imprisoned but alive. Their rescue mission turned deadly when Morzin discovered their presence. In a fierce confrontation, Aris summoned the magical sphere, and with a surge of focused energy, he struck Morzin down, ending his reign of terror. However, the victory was short-lived as King Galbatorix, enraged by the death of his advisor, confronted them. Armed with powerful fire magic, Galbatorix was a formidable foe. In a fierce battle, Galbatorix unleashed a mighty fireball that knocked Aris to the ground, nearly ending his life. Just as the king was about to deliver the final blow, Logan, in a desperate act of bravery, hurled a chair at the king. The distraction bought Aris just enough time to recover. With every ounce of strength, he thrust his newly conjured magical sword through Galbatorix's heart, ending his ruthless rule. As the tyrant fell, the Empire's oppressive air lifted, and hope returned to the people. Aris, Luke, and Logan emerged as heroes, having toppled the tyrant and restored freedom to their land. From that day forward, Aris was known not just as a boy from a small village, but as the chosen of Section 16, a guardian of peace and justice in a world that was finally free. Chapter 2: The Rise of the Varden. Years after the fall of King Galbatorix, the realm experienced a rebirth under the leadership of Aris, who founded a new empire called the Varden. Dedicated to liberty and justice, the Varden became a sanctuary for those seeking refuge from oppression. Aris, hailed as a liberator, established a governance based on equality and the common good.
However, peace was short-lived. From the east, whispers of a new threat began to surface, an empire known as the Forceworm, ruled by the cunning and vengeful King Murtage, who was revealed to be the son of Morzan. Fueled by a legacy of darkness and a thirst for revenge against Ars for his father's death, Murtage vowed to see the Varden fall. As tensions escalated, the Forceworm launched a series of brutal attacks against the outposts of the Varden. Ars, no longer just a guardian of peace but a leader at war, was forced to summon his army and defend his empire. Preparing for conflict, Ars tapped into his deepening magical abilities, rallying his people with the promise of protection and freedom. The two empires clashed on the vast expanse known as the Burning Plains, where the ground was scorched from ancient magical battles. During the fierce combat, Murtage confronted Ars. In a stunning display of power, Murtage hurled a magical sword that pierced Ars's shoulder, wounding him severely. The battle paused as the two leaders faced off, the fate of their empires hanging in the balance. With Ars weakened, Murdage seized the opportunity to end his rival's life. As he raised his sword to strike, Ars's friends, Luke and Logan, intervened. They tackled Murdage, but the desperate king unleashed a lethal magic laser, striking Logan and inflicting a fatal wound. As Logan fell, Ars's anguish and rage amplified his power to unprecedented levels. Summoning all his strength and magic, Ars called upon the forces of the cosmos, creating an enormous asteroid from the sky itself. With the mighty cry, he directed a massive rock towards Murdage. The asteroid crashed onto the battlefield with a thunderous impact, crushing Murdage and marking the end of his reign of terror. In the aftermath, the Forceworm soldiers, leaderless and demoralized, surrendered. The Varden's forces enveloped the remnants of the Forceworm, not with vengeance, but with an offer of unity and peace. As the dust settled on the burning plains, Ars knelt beside Logan, whose sacrifice would forever be remembered in the annals of the Varden. With a heavy heart, Ars vowed to honor his friend's memory by striving for a world where peace would prevail over the lust for power. The Varden healed and grew, stronger and more united than ever, a beacon of hope in a world that had seen too much darkness. Ars's legacy, built on the sacrifices of many, promised a future where freedom and justice would flourish for generations to come. Chapter 3, The Battle of Dreams. 20 years had passed since the epic Battle of the Varden. Ars, now a seasoned and respected ruler, had brought prosperity and stability to his realm. However, whispers of a new threat began to circulate, rumors of a secretive and powerful group known as the Dreamers. These whispers spoke of their unparalleled magical abilities and their intent to overthrow Ars's hard-won peace. Determined to uncover the truth, Ars set out with a trusted contingent of 50 warriors, including his steadfast friend Luke, to the rumored location of the Dreamers. As they approached a shadowed forest, they were ambushed by hooded figures who moved with unnatural grace. It soon became clear that these assailants were elves, their eyes gleaming with ancient magic. A fierce battle ensued, during which many of Ars's guards were slain, and an arrow struck Ars in the arm. Wounded but resolute, Ars attempted to retaliate with his own magic. Just then, a red-hooded figure stepped forward, his voice dripping with contempt. "That won't be necessary," he sneered. The ensuing magical duel was brief but intense. The red-hooded man's power was overwhelming. Ars was forced to retreat, narrowly escaping with Luke and a few surviving guards. Realizing the magnitude of the threat, Ars rallied his forces and sought alliances with neighboring kingdoms. He and Luke traveled far and wide, convincing other rulers of the peril posed by the Dreamers. In exchange, they were taught advanced magic by the greatest sorcerers of the allied nations. The climactic showdown was inevitable, the Battle of Dreams. The combined armies of the Varden and its allies faced the Dreamers on a vast, desolate plain. The red-hooded leader of the Dreamers, whose name was whispered only as Nightshade, stood at the forefront. With a single, devastating word of magic, Nightshade decimated half of Ars's forces. Undeterred, Ars and the allied kings pressed on. The battle was brutal, with each side incurring heavy losses. 3 of the allied kings fell, their armies faltering. Ars, fueled by desperation and grief, channeled all his magical prowess into a single, earth-shaking spell. The ground trembled and split beneath Nightshade, momentarily disrupting his focus. Seizing the opportunity, Luke lunged at Nightshade, aiming for a fatal blow. But the elf was quick. With a swift movement, he turned the blade back on Luke, impaling him. Luke's lifeless body crumpled to the ground, his sacrifice igniting a fire within Ars. Summoning every ounce of strength, and with the combined magic of the fallen kings, Ars conjured a spell of unparalleled magnitude, a black hole. The vortex of darkness tore through the battlefield, consuming everything in its path. Nightshade was caught in its pull, his screams echoing as he was annihilated. The immense power of the spell, however, took its toll on Ars. Mortally wounded, he collapsed beside his fallen friend. As the dust settled and the surviving Dreamers fled or surrendered, Ars, with his last breaths, named Luke's son, Colby, as his successor. He entrusted Colby with the future of the Varden, hoping for a reign of peace and unity. Colby, though young, rose to the challenge. He honored Ars's dying wish by forging strong alliances with the neighboring kingdoms, ensuring that the Varden remained a beacon of hope and justice. Ars's legacy endured, his memory celebrated in songs and stories for generations to come. His life and sacrifices became the foundation upon which a new era of peace was built, his name forever etched in the annals of history.